All right. So Ben Katz, also known as Mr. Mass Spec, has built an impressive social media following. He's got nearly 65,000 followers on TikTok and over 7,000 subscribers on YouTube. A podcast. He's authored about a dozen books. Ben received his Bachelor's of Science and Engineering at Georgia Institute of Technology, and he's gained quite a bit of research experience at several biotech companies before moving to the Department of Biochemistry at Kansas State University in 2010. He was the associate director for the biotechnology core facility at Kansas State University from 2013 to 2017. And then in 2017, luckily, Ben moved to UC Irvine, where he provides comprehensive expertise and core services for identification of small molecules and proteomics mass spec analysis in the chemistry department's mass spec core. Ben is going to demonstrate today how mass spec consumer products how to mass spec consumer products and how to build a social media brand off of this scientific content. So I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Ben now to present.
Let's see if I can share my screen here. Let's just do title screen. Oh, wow. And then we'll go to this one. And then let's slideshow. Can people still see me even though I can't see you?
We can't see your screen.
You can't see my screen?
No.
How about now? Oh, I thought I said entire screen. And then allow. Can you see my screen now?
There we go. Yep,
now it's
we
good?
Can see that now. Mm-hmm.
But let's see if I can go into slideshow or if it drops it. Can it still see it?
Can still see it.
Perfect. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for having me. The title is Mass Spec Everything: Developing a STEM Social Media Brand. I don't know if anybody's ever really done it with Mass Spec before, and so it's kind of surprised everybody that Mass Spec even is a thing as I've started kind of talking to regular people. So the current follower count is on the left there. You can see 106,000 followers on Instagram. There's 64,000. I've stopped kind of putting a lot of effort into TikTok. It's kind of slowly fading. YouTube's my big push now, so it's kind of doubled in the last couple of weeks as I've started pushing it with different collaborations. And then I just recently started a Spotify, thinking that long form, kind of like unscripted, unedited, long form podcasts would be a fun thing to get into. The other thing that I'm going to not really talk about, just show you guys, is that you can do a link tree. So on all the sites, you see that there's this link tree. That's how you kind of can, people probably seen this before, but spread your links without having like a website, kind of an easy way to show people your links. You can see that I try to prioritize the things that I'm trying to get people interested in. So the Spotify podcast is at the top of the moment. I move these things around. My Amazon merchandise, so constantly trying to play around with merchandising. The YouTube page, which I'm trying to promote right now. 2 different support channels, this thing called Buy Me a Coffee that a student told me to do. And then I had this Wall Street Journal interview that was really popular. So I put up a popular news site and then my other links and then my books. And so that's kind of where we're at and what has happened with the brand over the last year or two. All right. So today we're going to talk about the Mass Spec workflows first, and then talk about creating content, and eventually to the thing everyone kind of always wants me to talk about is how do you make money off this, or do you make money off of this? Okay. So since it's a Mass Spec group, the idea behind my extraction protocols and everything that I'm doing, what kind of started all this is I do outreach with the LA County school system and the high schools. And so a lot of the high school students have been watching the content and they want to replicate it in their chemistry classes. And so we've been trying to keep things very simple. Pipetting, centrifugation, solvents that they're allowed to have. Acetonitrile, methanol are okay. DCM is kind of iffy. And so a lot of the things that we've been doing have been it seems very simple to a normal mass spectrometrist, you know. So for LCMS workflows, I kind of focus on two workflows, kind of water soluble, kind of dilute and shoot, extract with water, extract with acetonitrile, some sort of ratio, sonicate, vortex, centrifuge, and then dilute for analysis. I try to avoid filtration and things that would add any cost. So typically try to focus on centrifugation workflows. The newer method I've been working on is this oil extraction method. So I get tons of questions about looking at seed oils and looking at oil. But what people want to know is more about adulteration to the oil than the actual like fatty acid composition that you get on GC. And so this is, again, just kind of pulling from literature, extracting the oil with an 80-20 mixture of methanol. So it's 50% oil, 50% 80-20 methanol water, centrifuging this out, removing the aqueous layer, the 300 microliters aqueous layer, and mixing it with more water, chilling that, and then running it out. And then you get a lot of like fatty acid glycerol conjugates, like glycerol linoleic acids and stuff like that. But you also can get a lot of really cool adulterants and additives that you see in the oil. And then I've been running all this on a Ziva QTOF, just because that's what I got set up. But pretty much any untargeted workflow would be great for this. Either on a, I'll do data processing first, and I'll show you the gradients. So data processing, either targeted searching, because I kind of have a story in mind or a molecule that I'm looking for. So we're just looking for molecules. Like the simplest content is, hey, there's caffeine in chocolate. Hey, there's caffeine in your energy drink. And so things that you think would be really silly for social media content are usually the things that are most popular. So confirming something that's supposed to be there usually does really well. So then my untargeted workflows, I've been working kind of with an untargeted target where you're like just finding the 5 or 6 most intense masses and searching them on HMDB. That makes pretty good content. I usually can get really good hits with some MS to match, and so that's typically good enough. Trying to find 2 or 3 things to make a post about it. Then if I'm going to want to really run it untargeted and do a longer piece of content, I'll either do it through MZMine with the MS style database downloaded and loaded into MZMine. I like that because MZMine works really quickly. I can usually get the data while I'm recording and get a good list of hits, typically with fragments matched, maybe like 20 or 30 things that look like they're really confident. And then I'm using Cirrus for de novo structure prediction and databasing, which is a much slower workflow. So typically I'll let that run overnight and then get a big Excel spreadsheet and then kind of do like a podcast talking through a lot of the hits and searching them in Google. So the LCMS workflow is really the dilute and shoot directly into DCM or pentane, which is like if I'm going to analyze a fragrance or like something that's kind of already in ethanol or methanol. But typically for fragrances, there's a lot of people interested in like what are all the different ingredients in a fragrance, or if somebody made a dupe of a really popular fragrance, how close it is. The next easiest thing is just doing headspace analysis. I get a lot of people asking about solvents, residual solvents, you know, anything where you have something volatile in something that's very difficult to extract, then I'll just lean right on headspace, and it's really easy. I have a thermal desorption system as well. I've done some thermal desorption content. That also works pretty well. The most complicated method that I probably show is liquid-liquid extraction with DCM. This is all the nicotine content, since the nicotine e-liquids are in this really gross EGPG. You can't really run that on anything. So anytime I have like really gross polars, like glycerol or ethylene glycol or lots of sugar or something like that, I'll try to do a liquid-liquid extraction for GC, and then just pull the bottom layer and dilute it. Another cool method I've been doing is for soda analysis. Instead of just running straight soda, which you can do, but the GC idea is a little bit better using the NIST EI fragmentation. I'll do like a low pH, neutral pH, and high pH liquid-liquid extraction, and then combine all those DCM fractions and then run them all together on GC. And that's how I can get like the 23 flavors in Dr. Pepper and stuff like that. All right, so kind of do that order, but here you go. So here is a typical gradient, very focused on polars. I really like this hexyl phenyl column because a lot of food ingredients have sugars and acids and phenolics, and So a lot of these things work really well on this hexyl phenyl column. I'll run C18 as well for that that oil residuals method. You can see the gradient there. The MSMS scanning, so I'm doing fast EDA on a QTOF. Since I don't have a trap, I'm just running 4 scans, 4 MSMS scans, 1 MS1 scan, doing the 2-second exclusion. I'm just going from 50 to 1000 mass range with 0.2 second scans. And so there's my collision energy ramp right there. Pretty standard, typical stuff that we do for a lot of metabolomics. The GC method. So the GC is on a splitless PTV liner. A lot of these things are pretty gross. So the PTV is pretty helpful in transferring just the volatile portion and then cleaning itself nicely. And so this is on a thermotrace instrument with that big RSH auto sampler. So you can do headspace on here with PTV, or you can do liquid injection or SPME. I don't usually run a lot of SPME, but I am running a lot of liquid injection PTV. And then getting the transfer times worked out is, that's kind of the hard part, getting things transferred right for different molecules. And then there's my headspace method. The most important thing, the headspace method, is running the syringe. See, I'm running the syringe temperature at 65 degrees, where I'm running the agitator temperature at 60 degrees. So it's important to make sure you keep your syringe clean and running it at about 5 degrees hotter than you run your sample. And so at 60 degrees, I can sublimate caffeine. I can see pretty volatile things. I can see most terpenes. Most of the things that people would be interested in with headspace, I can get at about 60 degrees. And so I don't need to go much hotter than that. I'm actually kind of worried sometimes about 60 degrees causing side reactions and changing the product. But yeah, that seems to be the best method we have at the moment. All right, so now that I've told you about the mass spec workflows, pretty simple. Then creating content. So what are we doing? Let's say you guys wanted to, and like, I'm totally willing to give away all the secrets because I'd rather have more scientific influencers out there. It helps build the whole collective. And so you please go and start a channel. I'm trying to encourage people to do their own thing and try it out. It's really fun. So filming. When I started out, I have a lot of undergrads here on campus, so I didn't even know what I was doing. I was recording all in one shot. I didn't know you could like pause when you were recording on YouTube. I didn't know that you could shoot in individual clips and stitch them together. I didn't really know pretty much anything. So the lesson now that I tell you is focus on short clip, something engaging. Things that you wouldn't think would normally be interesting are the things that people find interesting. So just like vortexing a sample, centrifuging a sample is actually quite interesting for people that don't really know much about science. For a while, I was not maintaining chronological order entirely. I was doing like little summaries in the beginning of my videos. I thought those were more engaging. I had some success with that, where you could like summarize the conclusion in the first 5 seconds of the video and then go back to chronological order. I've since kind of gone away with that. It seems like more people just stick with chronological order and try to encourage people to wait till the end of the video to hear the result. In the beginning, if you go all the way back in some of my early YouTube or Instagram videos, you'll notice that I wasn't really talking into the camera. I really thought people just wanted to see the stuff that I was doing, but not hear me explain it. As soon as I started explaining what I was doing and speaking and even showing myself in the camera doing stuff and talking, it became much more engaging. People really, it was a huge difference in how much people like the content. Talk unscripted, you're editing the video, so you can edit it later. So if you don't like what you just said, then just say it again in a different way, and you can repeat it a few times and then choose the best one when you go back into editing. Aim for a simple take-home message. So try to have a pretty simple premise. Like I was saying, the simpler the better. The caffeine energy drink has caffeine in it. You'd be surprised that how much people like that type of content. Or like in my case, the nicotine pouch has nicotine in it. It's amazing. People just to have that confirmation was a big deal for people. You can see on the right here, I'm using CapCut, which is definitely kind of like a new generation editing software. Instead of using, like, if you go to Adobe Premiere, which I was doing to begin with, it's overwhelming. It's too difficult. Um, and so you can get discouraged really easily. And if you go to CapCut, you realize really quickly that that's the reason why, like 5-year-olds and 10-year-olds can do this, is because it's just super, super intuitive, the new software. And then the last thing that I found really interesting, and I still kind of do this to this day, is saying something wrong, or saying something incorrectly that's very obvious, actually promotes conversation and encourages engagement. And so, like, that sometimes, you don't want to make a fool of yourself, but sometimes saying something that's kind of like an obvious mistake causes people to have a lot more engagement and enjoy content. They want to be involved. Okay, so this creation strategy is kind of what I'm doing now. I wish I had known this and started this sooner. Notice that I have like 65,000 TikTok followers. I was focused on TikTok for the longest time, and I would take my content, I would stitch it all together in chronological order, and then I would edit it down to a 1 to 1.5 minute video for TikTok. And I was basically just throwing away the long video content. So the better way to do it is to take the entire strung together chronological order of all of your videos, minimally edited, make an 8 to 18 minute or 20-minute or even 30-minute video, and put that up on YouTube, all unedited, the whole long version. Some people want to watch that. Then I do a medium edit, 2 to 3 minute video, and I put that on Instagram Reels, or I sometimes do the same edit that I do for TikTok, and put that on Instagram and TikTok. And then in the video, you want to put, like, full version on YouTube. So that helps everything kind of grow together. So that was one of the things that I didn't do in the beginning that I kind of regret. I wish I had grown YouTube earlier and seen the value in growing longer form content from the beginning. But yeah, you could think of these platforms as all kind of advertising towards YouTube. And so you want to have a platform you're directing everybody to, not just building one at a time. Okay. So then once you kind of set up this whole system of edited content, the new thing that I just started playing around with is this idea of live moderation. So once you get kind of comfortable talking to the camera and editing videos and just kind of feeling a little bit more, organic and feeling like you can talk, then you can start going into filming like longer form, continuous, unedited content. And so I think that's the thing that really takes a lot of time to get used to, at least for me, was just talking unscripted, without the need to have to watch the whole thing again. Because let's say you do an hour-long live stream, or you do a big long live stream with another person. Like I went out to Moongoat and talked to all the guys out there. I've talked to another couple coffee companies. It's an hour-long conversation. I prefer not to rewatch my entire conversation and do a lot of editing. And so that's the type of content that I feel comfortable enough now, to not say something silly enough that I don't want to post it online, to post it onto Spotify. And eventually, once it seems like it's doing okay on Spotify and people seem to like it, then I can edit it down a little bit and put it back to YouTube. So having a location to put 30 to 45-minute long segments that are completely unedited is kind of a nice platform. People seem to want that as well. And then even further than this, like I probably won't go in that direction, but it seems like, what all the kids are doing these days is going to live stream. So completely unedited live stream content on Twitch or another live stream platform. You can live stream on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram as well. But just live streaming everything you're saying, and then using that to make the content. So the raw content is broadcast out there, and then you can get memberships and people want to watch your live streams. So it's kind of cool. All right, so the final category, making money. Can you make money on all this? And the answer is there's people who make a lot of money on this. The least rewarding so far seems to be Instagram, which unfortunately has my largest following. When we talk about CPM, we're talking about the amount of money you make in dollars per 1,000 views. All the sites have certain criteria about like how long a person has to watch a video in order for it to count as a view. So on TikTok, they have to watch for at least 5 seconds in order for it to count as a view. And then they have to remain pretty much kind of engaged, you know? And so that's why you see people put a lot of effort in the first 5 to 10 seconds of their videos, is because they're trying to capture the audience and keep them there long enough so it counts as a view. But you know, on TikTok, if you if you have a video that gets 1 million views, you could make $1,000. So it's not so bad. Right? Instagram, it's much less. It's probably a fifth of that. And so, but then you have YouTube, where you see these people that are actually like making a career out of it, the YouTubers, and I think I've heard people make up to $15 CPMs. But it seems like $2 to $5 is about average. It depends on the length of your video and how long people like to watch it for. But a good number would be 5. I mean, think about that. You can make $5,000 for 1 million views. A lot of the top YouTubers, you know, with millions of followers are getting videos with, you know, 30 to 50 million views, and so it could be a significant amount of ad revenue sharing. All right. So another area that I actually got into early, I encourage everybody to do this. It's free for you to do it. You can still self-publish books on Amazon using the Kindle Direct Publishing platform. I don't know if a lot of people know about this, but if you publish a Kindle book, it gives you the option in the Kindle book publishing to do direct publishing for physical books. You can make hardcover books, and you can make paperback books. You can make books that are like A5. I printed like lab notebooks, custom lab notebooks for people in the lab. You can pretty much do anything, and the price is incredibly low. Like a book, you know, you could print a book for $5 and sell it for $8, and you know, $3 a book is actually pretty good for publishing. And so you can keep your book prices quite inexpensive, and really get a presence out there. And another thing I like to mention to people, I haven't done this myself, but you can write under a pseudonym if you're still shy about putting your work out there. That's the best thing about the internet, is there's a lot of anonymity, so you can kind of start these things without any fear of anyone knowing who you are. You can write under a pseudonym, and nobody would really know. And so, you know, feel free to just explore book publishing. I feel like if you get into book publishing, you follow all the formats, and you get interested in this, then it's kind of a gateway to all these other things that you can do. So same thing. Merchandising is much easier these days. You don't have to have any initial investment. Originally, I was using Printful, Printify to make an Etsy shop or an eBay or a Shopify store. And that's a little bit more complicated. You got to kind of like be passing different things from one storefront to the other storefront. You have to fulfill and pay for things in Printful separately, then you get income coming in from Etsy. So you think like, if I had like all of a sudden something got popular and I had 1,000 orders fulfilled, then you could have a credit card bill. You have to, like, you know, watch out a little bit, like if all of a sudden it became famous. So Amazon Merch on Demand is, you know, you don't make as much money per shirt, but it's completely outside your control. It's like on Amazon automatically, it ships within 2 days. You can put a shirt up on Amazon Direct Merch within like 2 or 3 hours if it gets approved quickly. So direct to Amazon and then direct printing of the shirt, it's so doable now that I've been recommending Amazon Merch on Demand. And then the brand, you can see that you can make different brands. You don't have to be limited to one brand, and so you can build out separate accounts, and you can promote a brand that people would think is not your brand, but actually could be your brand. And then the last thing is affiliate marketing. Affiliate marketing, I've had pretty bad success with it. Like, it doesn't really make much money. I hear of people making a lot of money from affiliate marketing. There's this thing on Amazon. Once you get some social media account that has a certain number of followers, some sites you have to have 100,000 followers, some sites you have to have 10,000 followers. It's almost like a key. You can use Instagram followings to unlock parts of websites you wouldn't be able to access otherwise. And so you can use this key to get affiliate marketing or Amazon Associates. Then they allow you to install this thing called SiteStripe onto your web browser, and you can generate affiliate links So when you send people things and they click on your affiliate link, it gives you, it's like 3% of all the sales. And so 3% is not that much. So so far has not been super successful. Same thing with the TikTok shop. It's a higher percentage, but incredibly annoying. So I would say avoid that one. But there's always new ways to do, affiliate marketing that always trying them out. Brand ambassador. So promoting a brand directly. The best way I've been doing this is just using a business email for outreach. So just telling people to contact you, and you can figure out the deals separately. I would not rely too much on direct messaging through Instagram. It becomes kind of like a crazy, the message requests are kind of like subset in all these different categories. It's very difficult to find them. And so once you have over 9+ requests for people wanting to talk to you, it becomes very challenging to navigate Instagram messaging, especially if you have thousands and thousands of requests. It becomes very challenging. So yeah, it's best to, but then you get a lot of emails, but it's definitely a lot easier to use a Gmail account and just kind of take a look at the emails separately. The last thing that I've been doing is white labeling products. So you get a lot of people, or I get a lot of people that approach me to do trusted resource products, checking products, and then white labeling them and creating brands. This is a very popular thing. This is the way I'd say that a lot of people make a lot of money, is by selling products under their own product label. And so this is kind of the end game for trusted brands, or developing new brands and then promoting them on social media. It's just working with, you kind of guys are in a great location here in Los Angeles, that you have a lot of private label white labelers. This is just one that we've been working with. Coco Jojo is a oil importer. They import, every beauty care oil, and then they can blend them. And so if you wanted to make a social media page around a cosmetic or something like that, this would be a company that could white label a cosmetic for you. Kind of the goal with all these things is you're a busy person. You want to be hands-free. So you don't want to touch a product. You don't want to see a product. You don't want to sell a product. You just want to promote it and have somebody else do all of the logistics. And so that really helps streamline everything. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions. See if I can get back to the view here. All right.
Thank you so much, Ben. There is a question in the chat from Brandon. He asked, what platform was your favorite to build?
My favorite platform to build is Instagram. It's definitely the most engaging. People reach out the most and comment the most. And so I'd say that Instagram is winning as far as having the most people on it. The neat thing that you find out when you start building a brand is you get this just plethora of demographic information. Like, you don't realize, as an analytical chemist, you kind of like analytical information. And so you don't realize how much information these companies give you. Instagram and Meta, definitely, along with Google, I mean, YouTube does a good job as well, but Instagram and Meta do an incredible job on analytics. So some of the neat things about the analytics, and that's the reason I really like Instagram, is my demographic. If you're a male between the ages of like 30 and 60, you've probably seen my content, even if you don't want to. It's been suggested to you for sure. My demographics are 90% male, like 10% female, and this is with, like, I get about a million views a month. So that's off of a huge population number. It seems like I just resonate in the stuff I'm talking about with men, or maybe everybody's just saying they're a man online. Who knows? And then the other thing is, I thought there'd be some sort of concentration for like one city or one location versus another. But the Instagram demographic information shows that I'm no more than 2% in any major city. So I'm very equally spread across the entire United States in every single city, with no major population center being over 2% of my general views. And so so once you get a lot of this demographic information, you really can start thinking about like how to tailor your content, when to release your content, who your audience is. And so you really can, it's really interesting to kind of know. And then you can try new things. So you get demographic information per video. You get collective for the entire channel, but you also get per video. So, you don't lose, people think you do one thing wrong, you lose your whole audience. You don't really lose your audience. Even if you put something out that's really a stinker, uh, people will deal with it and they'll just move on to the next one. So you can, I mean, I feel like it's a nice place to test things. And so you can try out something new and see how people like it and see if it changes your demographic a little bit. I have very little demographic outside the United States. The interesting thing is that with Amazon Merch Direct and Amazon Self-Publishing Printing Direct, you have access to the entire Amazon marketplace. And so I actually sell a lot of books in Japan and Germany. I sell probably more books in Japan and Germany. My books are in English than in the United States. My social media content doesn't reach as much in Japan and Germany. There's in maybe 2 or 3% max. A lot in Scandinavia and Denmark for social media, probably just because of the nicotine content. Yeah. MCAT. How do you seize the day as the scientist? Yeah, I mean, you can like do stuff that mimics news news that's out there. Um, I try to stay ahead of the news. The problem is the news cycle's so fast, and my analytics is too slow. So I tried to do for the Olympics. Yeah, I got pretty good reach now. So people are like, yeah, I'll send you the water in the Seine River. Everyone's like, oh, the water in the Seine River is contaminated. I'm like, all right, give me that water. By the time the water got here and through customs and all the different things, like the Olympics were over. Nobody cared about the water anymore in the Seine. So I was like, all right, I was a little late on that. But I do have the North Carolina flood mud on the way. I don't know if that's going to get here where people still care about it. It seems like it's almost a little late. So yeah, trying to stay ahead of social trend is challenging. But yeah, I did one actually. I did one that was really popular. Maybe like 6 months ago, there was this body butter from Sol de Janeiro that was attracting spiders and was like all over the news. There's this spider attracting body butter, and so I just ran it on Headspace GC, so that's fast. I can run Headspace GC, get a bunch of NIST IDs, and just be like, all right, it looks like this is, a pheromone for insects. And so like, you just kind of throw it out there and people really enjoyed that. So audiobooks, I've never done audiobooks. I haven't thought about doing like reading a book. The books that I've been doing on social media actually are like children's books and chemistry puzzles. So I've kind of focused not on writing like textbooks yet. I've been working more towards lab notebook guides for like study, like for classes, essentially in high school classes. So like kind of like pre-prepared lab notebooks. And then on kind of fun chemistry puzzles. So if you look at the books, they're kind of all like chemistry puzzles. I got young children, so I try to make some books that they would enjoy. That's kind of been my focus on the books.
Which book is your bestseller, Ben?
Yeah, the books actually they do okay. Like you forget about it. It's funny once you get all these irons in the fire, you forget about them, and they just kind of like you're like, oh gosh, there's a lot of books for some reason got sold.
Yeah, which one is your bestseller? I see there's quite a few of them on there.
The craziest one. Okay, so I did a Fibonacci sequence coloring book. I was like, and like I didn't even write it. Like I just asked like AI to write like a Python script to generate a bunch of numbers, Fibonacci sequence numbers. I did the prime numbers too, and then I just like it probably took me like a couple hours, and I just made them into a coloring book and put them up. And for some reason, people just like, I don't know why people keep buying this prime number coloring book or the Fibonacci sequence coloring book, but it's Yeah, you don't know. Just put a lot of them up there because who knows what's going to sell. The book that I spent the most time on was a book that my son really wanted me to make. He was like, "You got to make this ketchup book." I'm like, "What's in ketchup?" And make it for kids. And so I spent all this time on this ketchup book, and I don't think I've sold like 2 of them. It's like nobody cares. So you just never know. You just don't know. Have you done mass spec milk? Any dairy products? I've done yogurts. So I like more processed things than milk. Milk's really tough. The milk globule body is like a really complicated thing to deal with. And it's like basically like a cell. So anytime anyone asks me to do milk, I say, yeah, the milk is actually almost too complicated. But yogurt, there's a lot of these whey protein isolated yogurts that are on the marketplace now, like 25 grams of protein, 16 grams of protein. So I've been getting at those. Anytime I do a proteomics project for social media, I try to gear it towards Maldi just because it makes faster content. And so usually I have to kind of know the intact protein I'm looking for. Mass spec reading, I don't know. It's a lot of good books. I think I loaned out the book that I really like, so I can't show it to you right now. But would the some of the inspiration of all this is that if you look up YouTube mass spec content, a lot of the content is incredibly boring. So it's kind of a beware if you go out and watch YouTube videos on mass spec. But yeah, there should be better resources, but there's just kind of like high-end resources. See if I got most of the questions here. I think so.
Are there any other questions from the audience? You can feel free to unmute yourself and ask directly. Don't be shy.
Ben, thanks so much. I'll dare to ask. We always think that something that interests you personally might not be of interest for people around, and especially when you are in the field like mass spec, when sometimes you meet with your friends in science, they might not necessarily even know what mass spec is, and yet.
I think I heard the question, but maybe it was a little choppy. But so at ASMS this year, I talked about, like, I'm using social media to bring attention to issues that are personally interesting to me. I'm really interested in regulation around a class of molecules called synthetic cooling agents. So that's what I spoke about at ASMS. I had a poster, and then I did a lot of content around synthetic cooling agents, leading up to ASMS. They're kind of very strange menthol, trip A, trip M agonist that has been slipped into food and vape products and nicotine products since probably the 70s. And so I've been trying to bring focus on those and try to get people to study them more. They were kind of just generally recognized as safe because of flavors and ingredients lobbying. And they were like snuck into food through this kind of it's called the Flavors and Extractives Manufacturing Association. This FEMA backdoor into GROS status, and so it's one of these things I'm really passionate about, trying to get more attention to these synthetic cooling agents. The problem is that they keep popping up everywhere, and so if people don't start talking about them soon, it's not just a smoking problem, it's every product problem. There's more, every gum, any chewing gum you buy that has the word chill or ice on it has tons of synthetic cooling agents in it. And so these synthetic cooling agents are really, really potent trip A, trip M agonists that have not been studied at all. The only published study is by the company themselves when they did it back in the 70s, and they don't want anybody touching these things. So WS3 and WS23 are kind of my big focus on trying to just bring attention to those at the moment. Yeah, and then I had a lot of focus on synthetic nicotine versus tobacco-derived nicotine, and I still try to preach, the safer alternative is synthetic nicotine, and tobacco-derived nicotine needs to be removed from the market. But yeah.
Are those cooling agents in like toothpaste?
Yep. It's in children's toothpaste.
Great.
It's in everything. Yeah, it's in all toothpaste. There's almost not even a toothpaste you can get to avoid them. Synthetic cooling agents, if you go down the wormhole of synthetic cooling agents, it's crazy. They found out because they're flavor modulators, right? So they found out like maybe like 10, 15 years ago that they give you a more realistic mouthfeel and taste on artificial flavors. So in anything they add artificial flavors, they add synthetic cooling agents to kind of trick you into thinking that it's not an artificial flavor. So like even if you eat like strawberry jam, there'll be synthetic cooling agents in it because it imparts a more realistic mouthfeel to synthetic strawberry flavor. And so they're able, and then they don't need to report it because it's considered a flavoring ingredient. It just gets stuck into the word flavor on the ingredient label, and you'll never know it's there. And so the thing that really kind of made me upset was that I helped the the DEA and the work on the flavors law here in California, and I'm like, we gotta ban flavors clearly. So they lobbied to not be classified as a flavor. So now in California, the only thing that's allowed in vapes and e-cigs from the gas station are synthetic cooling agents because they were able to lobby and say, hey, we're not actually a flavor, we're a cooling agent. Even though they use flavoring laws to hide their ingredients for like, things in dental care products. And so, if in a mouthwash or in a toothpaste, they'll be hidden in the flavor label. But then in nicotine, they're like, yeah, no, we're not a flavor. We're not a flavor. And so you're like, it's ridiculous. So yeah, you got to watch out for these guys.
Have you been approached by any brands like Eppendorf or anybody to kind of promote their product on your
No, not
videos?
really. I feel like people don't want anything to do with me. Yeah, to tell you the truth. Like I feel like I'm kind of like a loose cannon, so nobody wants anything to do with me. But maybe I get approached a lot by nicotine companies wanting me to promote their product, and so I've not been doing that. So, but yeah, and then like I did like one of the first pieces that kind of blew up was I did something on Taco Bell, and Taco Bell's local here, and so I figured I'd get a lot of pushback from Taco Bell, but they seem to like it. So
I've got a
no such thing
question.
as bad press, right?
yeah,
Go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, thanks for a really interesting talk. It's a great aspect of mass spec that
thank you.
a lot of us don't appreciate, right? My question to you is, you said you analyze all your samples on a Zevo QTOF, is that right?
Yeah, except for GC samples, but yeah, all the LTMS. Yeah.
So if you were to repeat all the analysis and start analyzing on, let's say, a high field FTICR, do you think any of your conclusions have changed now, you're using ultra high resolution, for instance?
Yeah, I don't know how the databasing, I mean, the accuracy is pretty good. Like I'm definitely like 1 ppm accuracy, so hitting databases isn't so bad. And then I am doing fragment ionization, so the fragment channels tend to hit, but it'd be neat to think about what you could really do with an FTICR that would be that'd be really interesting for people. If there is anytime I think about going to a different mass spec instrument, I think about what's the story that we could really teach people by using this higher end piece of equipment. So I thought about doing imaging work. We have some imaging systems here, but I've never thought about going to super or ultra high resolution. It'd be fun for me just to play with it. But I don't know. Maybe you could do, the question I get a lot is isotope tracking. So if you could do some sort of like, because I know there are papers out there where people do like source tracking based on, different ratios and isotopes. Like this plant came from, Colombia versus this plant came from somewhere in Africa. Something like that maybe people would really resonate with. I get a lot of like carbon dating questions, and I kind of just say, yeah, no, I can't do it. I get a lot of metal questions, and I've not gotten into ICP-MS. So yeah, you got to kind of, and then the biggest territory, like where I'd encourage somebody else to do it, start a channel. I encourage one of my colleagues to try to start a channel to do this, is I've steered away from quantitation entirely. As you guys all know, it's a lot more work to do quantitation, to get it set up on the triple quad and do it properly. And so it's just easier for me to say, hey, it's not quantitative. We're just doing discovery. this is for social media than to try to actually like, you know, because then you're like, hey, I'm proving these people wrong. This could actually be a lawsuit. This is like, you know, got more caffeine than it should. And so I didn't want to go that route. And I try to, in general, I try to keep my stories more positive. So I'm not like, you know, itching for a lawsuit. So I try to keep it, you know, more happy and positive towards the content. Yeah. But yeah, that's a good question. If you got an FTIR up there, I'd love to come and we could do something, you know.
I don't, but I know Joe Lou's got a 15 Tesla.
I know, he's got a bunch of them up there.
Yeah, I've used it a few times. Fantastic machine.
Ah,
I do
beautiful.
proteins much higher in the M over Z scale than you.
Yeah, I thought about doing that with the MRT as well. Like, you know,
Yes.
it's like, yeah, you could do, Joe's talking with MRT and looking at, you know, top-down fragmentation could be kind of fun. You don't want to make it too, too difficult for people to understand, but yeah.
Well, thank you. I've got a dash. Thanks again so much. Really interesting.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. See you guys soon.
And
All right, everybody. If we're
any other
good.
questions? All right. Well, thank
All
you
right,
so
well,
much
thanks again
again,
for having
Ben.
me.
That was
Yeah.
a great talk. Really amazing topic. And I hope to see everybody at the student poster session on November 11th. And yeah,
Well, we'll see you at Caltech. All right.
sounds good. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.